Good afternoon and welcome to a Monday edition of the PHLY Eagles Show brought to you by Do Dat Dental Group. I'm Zack Berman. That's Fran Duffy. And it is training camp week. Fran, how are you? Are you as excited for football around the corner as I am?
I'm excited. I don't know if I'm quite as excited as you are, as we've talked about. I'm sure that you are chomping at the bit. I can't wait to hopefully be out there and taking in practice every single day. It'll be good to hear the clickety clack, and as you said,
Uh,
as you always said, and just seeing the pads and seeing this team up close. I'm excited to see what this team looks like here this fall.
the clickety clack is more
Yeah.
Lehigh
Right.
because they have that long walk from the field house
Yep.
to the fields, and you hear that clickety clack and the cleats on the pavement or on these, yeah, it's more of a sidewalk, cement, I should say. You get a little bit of the clickety clack at NovaCare, not as much, but what you get is the whistles, the pads thumping. You get the oohs and ahs from the crowd after nice catches.
Yep.
So that's part of what makes this time of year special. And we will discuss that. We will be doing credit to our friend Shio Kapadia. He has a device that I always like, which is he has the questions. You don't know the questions. It's the blind question test. So I have 7 questions for you. You'll pick the number. I'll give you the question. They're all of training camp type variety here. Not necessarily going off script here, but not all like team specific because we've spent the past 2-3 weeks doing position battles. So we've
Yep.
had every show. We've talked literally about every single player on this roster except for the specialists. And I suppose we can intersperse that. But one of those players here is in the news today. And it was really the last question before training camp. And
Yep.
that was, will they sign second round pick Drew Makuba? This has been not just the Eagles, but around the league, the second round picks. Will they sign? How much the contracts will be guaranteed? Will there be camp holdouts? That question was answered today. The Eagles signed Drew Makuba. Pen is on paper. Drew Makuba will be at practice this week. Fran, were you worried about this? Does this matter? Was this much ado about nothing? Was this a July headline, or was there something there this year?
No, I think that it happened. Well, look, if our listeners that were tuning into Friday's show, I made a prediction that it was going to be Tuesday afternoon that we got this announcement. So obviously, Makuba was in town a little bit earlier than the report date, so he was able to get this done here today, which is good for him to be able to knock this out, get out ahead of it, and be ready to hit the ground running by the time we get to practice on Wednesday. But I think this was not something that I was overly worried about. Once we started to see the
Yeah.
cascade of the second round pick start to sign, I guess would have been a few days ago. I said, all right, Makuba's getting done. It's just a matter of like him getting into the building to put the pen to paper, and that's exactly what we got here today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there hasn't really been camp holdouts here in a decade or so. I didn't. I thought there was a little more intrigue here because of what Houston did, as
Yep.
we discussed this summer. But I agree with you. Once there was some momentum on second round picks, I thought today would be more important than tomorrow because tomorrow's the report date, and so you just kind of want it settled before the report date. But really, it's Wednesday that matters, and that's when they're on the field. Although there's some physicals tomorrow and conditioning tests, things of that nature. I wouldn't be worried about that with Drew Makuba, but this is a big storyline that is it's not a storyline anymore, right? It's something that the Eagles were able to avoid, and it's kind of all football from here on out. And part of the reason why it's all football from here on out is because the Eagles closed the door on the Super Bowl season. They're still going to be week 1 when you drop the banner at Lincoln Financial Field, and there will be excitement then. But other than that, the ring ceremony was kind of the date on the calendar that everyone was pointing toward, and it was delayed from June to July while the rings were in production. But all the players, or a lot of the players from last year's team, were in Philly on Friday night for an extravagant party for an extravagant ring. And if we can show the ring on the screen now for our video listeners, look at this. So that's the ring, and I'm going to give you some details of the ring here. Okay, 40 points of diamonds in world champions for the 40 points scored in the Super Bowl, and the world champions is between 2 Lombardi trophies, obviously representing the Eagles, 2 Lombardi trophies, and the Eagles logo in there. Then there are wings that open. Think about it. Wings that open on a ring. Look at that. Thank you very much, Ethan, our outstanding producer today. The wings open on the rings. We're viewing a Nick Sirianni motto as a hidden message. You can't be great without the greatness of others. Okay. And then you also see inside the ring, there's a Brazilian flag for the season opener, the scores of all the postseason victories, and 145. That's for the most points scored in the postseason. There's also another Nick Sirianni model, a Nick Sirianni model here, tough, detailed together. There's 0.9 carats on those rings to represent 6 sacks and 3 takeaways in the Super Bowl. There's 5 diamonds on the button to open the wings, representing 5 players who scored in the Super Bowl. And I've seen some fans speculate that it's kind of poetic justice that you have to push to open that up, similar to the tush push.
Yep.
1 carat of marquee-shaped diamonds for the Eagles' #1 ranked defense. There's 18 green stones for the Eagles' 18 victories. There are 10 points of diamonds in the Super Bowl LIX logo for the Eagles' 10-game winning streak. There's also the players' numbers and their signature. So a lot of details that go into this ring. I'm not a big jewelry guy, although I know where to get all my jewelry. But this has to be something that would be exciting to wear. Fran, I know you guys discussed this a bit on Friday, but as somebody who has experience with the Super Bowl ring, I think we've discussed that. What's that like on your finger? How do you decide what finger to put it on? A lot of the players went middle finger. Some players went ring finger on the or players and coaches went ring finger on the right hand.
Yep.
And yeah, so we'll start with that, and then we'll get into some of the details from the party.
Yeah, I have always gone with right hand ring finger, but I know that there are some that do prefer that. Let me put it on the left hand middle finger as well. Obviously, I don't have 2 of them, so I don't know how I would go if I had 2. I don't know if I'd go. I think I have to go both on one hand, so I'd probably go middle finger and ring finger on the right hand. I think that would be the move. But it was cool, honestly, like following along from the party on Friday, just because, being friends with so many people in the organization, seeing the social posts come through and just seeing everybody post their stories with the ring. It was very, very happy for a lot of the people that I spent a lot of time with, certainly over the last decade plus.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, and it is something I wanted to point out. Like, I know a lot of the social media excitement, and rightfully so. It's about the players being there, but this is an organizational party, and Jeffrey Lurie, after the Super Bowl at the owners' meeting, one thing he said is how many people behind the scenes it goes into winning this, right? And it's a lot of names that the viewers and the listeners don't know. I mean, there's a lot of names that a lot of reporters don't know, right? But this is a massive organization that with a dedicated, talented staff, like not just football staff, but non-football staff. And the Super Bowl is a big deal for them. And part of the reward is that they also get a ring. So like everyone in the organization gets a ring. And I'm curious, is this like something that could possibly be worn? I remember I was doing a story for the Washington Post back in 2008 where I had to track down the location of every Heisman Trophy, and I would have thought, like, if you want a Heisman Trophy, you would have it displayed in your house, and it befuddled me how many, or it surprised me, I should say, how many recipients of the Heisman Trophy had it like locked away somewhere, right?
Yep.
So what does one do with a Super Bowl ring?
Me personally, I find the locking it away somewhere else to be the prudent strategy. Not to give too many details away on that.
Okay, sorry about that.
But yeah, I think it's tricky because you go into it and you're like, oh, I'm going to wear this thing all the time. And trying to find like the situations where it feels okay to wear that ring is difficult, because some people are like, oh, like you wear it to weddings, and it's like, yeah, but you don't want to like take away from like the people that are getting married.
Sure.
I never worn it to a wedding. Honestly, in talking with people over the last few days, this was the first event where they're like, yeah, I felt great about wearing the last ring to this event,
Okay.
obviously just to be able to have it. But, high school reunions, things like that. It's like, yeah, like, I don't know. It's just like not worth it to necessarily put it on. I talked with Vinny about that because Vinny would wear it to a lot of game day shows and would have that on. So it's obviously, it's a very special night. Really happy for all those people that were able to bring that in. It's cool to be able to see a lot of people where they got to experience it for the first time, right? So while there are a lot of people, players, coaches, executives, and people on the business side that they were there in 2017. There are many where it's like, this is the first time for them, and it's a cool experience to be able to see them kind of go through that for the first time as well.
I would consider it wearing it as a medallion on a necklace, right? Because
Okay.
like I just wouldn't be able to do that with my hand. Like it's just too big to wear on your hand. I feel like you wouldn't have dexterity. You couldn't. I don't know how I would drive. Right. I mean, I could be wrong there, but there's wings coming out of a ring. There's too many things that could happen there. So, but I think the necklace medallion would be pretty cool. And you pull it out for like a special occasion. You got that, dangling from the necklace. Yeah, it's just something. It's just something to consider.
It's heavier than you think. Like
Okay.
it's so I would think like if it's dangling on your neck, like you got to wear a pretty hefty chain for it not
Yeah.
to be like completely uncomfortable, just hanging over there like that.
Andy Reid used to always wear the Packers ring, I recall.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm always curious what people do with the rings. Now, the party, itself, it looks awesome, and it looks like um, just like a great reunion, right? Because some of these players have moved on. Everyone who was on the teams and invited, so it's cool seeing guys like Kenny Pickett, Isaiah Rodgers. Mekhi Becton, some of the players who play elsewhere come back for that night. Rich Hoffman, who does an outstanding job on the PHLY newsletter, PHLY sports newsletter every morning, kind of wrote about that. But then, like you said, you bring your significant others. The staff brings their significant others. I know the Eagles have a holiday party some years that is like similar to this, but I got to think the ring ceremony is the most fun party.
Yeah, I think that, honestly, it seems like a very similar setup to what the holiday party is. Sometimes they've done the holiday party. Typically, the holiday party would be held like at Lincoln Financial Field. At times, they've held them, off campus somewhere. But it's a very similar feel, and honestly, it's just a great celebration. And I think that it's cool that it happened this year where it was just before the season starts. So I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
would give a lot of those people like juice, like going into
Sure.
next week. You still had a few days, to kind of take that final deep breath before the season started. So you still had some time to relax, but a nice kind of like energizer, like to just say like, all right, let's go do this again, without having to say it, because we know that that's not something that Nick Sirianni
Yeah.
necessarily wants to focus on, is the idea of repeating. But I got to think that would give them a little bit of extra juice
Yeah.
as they got ready for camp.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's also a good way to kind of close the book on last year too, right? Like, yeah, I think you had to do it before training camp at some point, and so yeah, it's pretty neat. I know that some in some other sports they give out the rings at the game.
Right.
You see that in baseball sometimes. You see that in basketball sometimes. It's hard to do, obviously, with 53 players. But I think the team party is pretty cool. I was able to do the red carpet back in 2018. I was out of town this past weekend, so I wasn't able to go on Friday night, but I was certainly following along and looking at all the pictures and the videos and sometimes with the players' social media, you feel as if you're in the room, which is pretty cool too. So yeah, congratulations to the Eagles there. That's a well deserved honor, and I think what you said really stands too is congratulations to a lot of people behind the scenes because I expect that to be especially meaningful. You have people who've been in the organization for a decade plus, 2 decades, and again, when I think part of working, and you can speak to this more than I can, part of working in sports, like for a team, part of the benefit is you kind of get to be part of the organization. There's a certain camaraderie that comes with that. But I also know just from being around that in tough times, it can be pretty tough in those buildings, right? Because you wear wins and losses in that building, and it's a business where performance is out there in the public every single day or every single week rather. So when they get to celebrate this, it's well earned.
Yeah, it's not a free ring, but it's it's something just to be able to. I saw there were a couple of people in the chat that said, "Oh, the staff ring's a little bit different than the player rings." Honestly, the only difference, and I don't know this to be case with this one, but I know back in 2017, the only difference was like one inscription, but everything else about the ring it should be exactly the same from the staff rings to the player ring. So yeah, in terms of like. The different aspects, all the different things that you highlighted there from, the different diamonds and gems that are on there. Everything else is exactly the same. So it's a really cool experience to be able to go and kind of have that camaraderie, like you mentioned, and just a reminder that everybody's in that together. Like you said, that entire building feels it, especially the biggest losses. maybe like a week 4 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You don't necessarily feel that as much as you would, a playoff loss, but you definitely feel that on a week-to-week basis.
So the ring ceremony's past us. Training camp is ahead. After this break, Fran Duffy's going to answer some pertinent questions about training camp, the preseason, and what's ahead for the Eagles. Stick around. I told you where I like to get my jewelry. Golden Nugget Jewelers, okay? Because for the past 30 years, Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia. Customers from across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even Baltimore and New York City have come to Golden Nugget Jewelers to find the perfect engagement ring or wedding band. Their staff is highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. Look, I have to tell my wife, I can't quite get you jewelry like the ones the Eagles gave out, but I can get you nice jewelry at Golden Nugget Jewelers because they have a vast selection of engagement rings and wedding bands, neither of which I need right now. But there are high-end watches or just watches of any variety, fashion jewelry, and sparkling diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. Receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Golden Nugget Jewelers has been a family-owned and operated business since 1987, right there on 8th and Chestnut in downtown Philly. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more.
All right, Fran, here's an impression of me from yesterday.
Okay.
That's me walking into my house, sweating like a pig because it is feeling like a sauna in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. This time of year, this Philly heat, it's no joke.
So, what do I do? Do I go jump in a lake? It's not going to happen. So, I just got a bunch of ice, held it, rubbed it on my face, stuffed it down my shirt, stuffed it down my pants. Only way I could think to cool down.
I mean, stop being the stereotypical dad, though. Turn on the AC. It's time to fire that thing up.
I don't want to be, I want to waste money, be energy efficient.
Well, look, instead of icing yourself out or jumping into a lake, you could just check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut down on your bills.
So, no more ice down my pants?
No, you could skip the ice, save the ice, and you throw in my drinks when I come over.
The same ice?
No, we'll change the ice up.
Okay, fine. That's what's up.
All right, well, just head over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it.
Welcome back here to the PHLY Eagles Show, and we have some good news on the PHLY Eagles Show every Wednesday or every other Wednesday during the season. So about twice a month, I believe. Amina Kimes, the outstanding ESPN host analyst, will be joining the PHLY Eagles Show on Wednesdays. And this Wednesday will be the first one. So make sure you check that out. We are honored to have Mina part of the show on Wednesdays. I know I'm biased here, but I think she's one of the truly great voices in the NFL.
Agree. That's awesome. It's going to make the product that we're offering even better here on the PHLY Eagles Show. I'm excited to see what these conversations look like on a biweekly basis with Mina.
So now let's shift the attention here to training camp. Okay. And as I said, in a nod to Shil Kapadia, I have 7 questions that I put together here, and these are all training camp specific. So this isn't like the grid where we have some non-football questions. But these aren't like who's going to win the right guard competition. It's more kind of some bigger picture type questions about camp as we get ready. Fran does not know what these questions are. Okay, so
he tried. Zach tried. Yeah. He said, "Fran, do you want to know the questions ahead of time?" And I said, "No, I trust you."
Exactly. So here we go. You pick any number between 1 and 7, and I'll give you the question.
Let's go with 5 will always love you.
5 will always love you. Okay, this is a good one. So the Eagles have 1 public practice this year. Okay, should the Eagles have more public practices, and does it matter?
That's a good question. Should they have more? Yeah. I mean, I think here it is. I think that they should, from a fan engagement standpoint. I think that it's always a lot of fun. The players like really enjoy, like get a lot of juice from interacting with the crowd, and it's always honestly like you always get a sense of excitement. I know like it was before, it might have been, yeah, it was last summer going into the season. It was right before I left. They had the open practice, and I remember being in the stadium, and I think it was AJ Brown. Like AJ Brown got announced, and the whole stadium, like you just felt it, and it felt like a game day. Like the whole stadium erupts, and it's just like, man, like it would be nice to get more than just this one. Now you might make the argument that because it's only one, that there's there's maybe a little bit of extra juice behind it. But I also get why they only do one, because you are limited in terms of what you can do in those practices. You only get so many practices in the summer leading into training camp, and to go from 3 fields to 1. It really limits in terms of like the amount of reps that guys can get and how much work they can get done. So I definitely get it from both sides. It is a fun experience, and if you can go, it's definitely a fun one to be able to bring in.
Yeah, so it's Sunday, August 10th. It's at 6 p.m. And tickets they benefit the Eagles Autism Foundation. So yeah, I mean, I don't need to kind of speak for the Eagles here. You can get your tickets online. I would like to see more. I think it's really cool for the fans, and we'll kind of get in. I mean, we'll get into this at a different point in today's show. But given I've been at every practice here, and given just the configuration of the practice fields at the team facility compared to the stadium, you're not getting as much done at the stadium. I know there's always that fear of like showing things, like these videos appear online, even if the teams don't want it to appear online. I don't know how much that is a consideration. I know football coaches are paranoid about everything, and they don't want stuff getting out. Look, if Jalen Hurts throws a deep ball to AJ Brown and AJ Brown catches it, if you're an opposing team, yeah, AJ Brown can do it. Now you can say like, "Ooh, that's an interesting play design," but the reality is, like, the training camp practices people are at too, and stuff invariably is gonna get out, and so I think it's more just the logistical considerations. It's harder to do it on one field, but I definitely think about the fans, and I'm getting old here on the beat. When I started, I was like a young guy. I was 26 years old, 25 years old. Now I'm going into year 14 on the beat. So I'm one of the last ones who remember what it's like at Lehigh, and we'll get into that. But I always think it's cool this time of year when fans get to watch practice, and especially because, if I'm being honest, with like tickets to games are expensive, and one and two. The Eagles play a lot of night games, right? So for kids, sometimes these practices are their best chances of like getting a chance to see the players in person. But it's also 2025, and I understand the reality of the times and the reality of the situation. But that first public practice the only public practice rather, is August 10th. And when the Eagles moved from Lehigh to Philly, I think they had 3 public practices that first year. Then it's kind of dwindled by the years, and now they only have this one every year. So that was question 5. Let's move on to the next one.
Let's go to Jalen Hurts' original number. Let's go number 2.
Number 2. Okay, this is one that I bet you Nick gets this question on Wednesday. Okay. It's a little premature for the question. But once we're in the nitty-gritty of camp, we're not talking big picture stuff. Should starters play in the preseason, and will starters play in the preseason?
Should they play? No, I think that we are at the point where it makes sense to say, you know what, the starters. Now, I think that I should couch this by saying overall, I feel starters should not play. However, I think there are instances where it does make sense, and I think there are position groups where it makes more sense to get those guys some work together. The Eagles returned 4 of 5 starters along the offensive line. I don't think they need to shoehorn that. There are teams that Maybe they have 3 new starters along the offensive line. Getting those guys some live work, I think, can be beneficial. If you play a defense like Vic Fangio's, and that's why Vic Fangio is we know that he's a proponent of those guys getting as much work as possible during the summer. When you have a scheme like that where communication is key and passing guys off, and seeing those live reps can be really beneficial, especially for the back seven. I think there's an argument to be made. Yeah, like it makes sense for those guys to be able to play. That said, 17-game schedule for a team that you're hoping to go on a long postseason run. Keeping those guys on ice for as long as possible, I do think makes the most sense. I don't think we're going to see a ton of starters, certainly on offense throughout the summer. I think defense will probably see a little bit more time from those frontline players. But I would say, like, if I had to fall on one side of the issue or the other, I would say no, I do not think they need to play in the preseason.
Yeah, so following up on that, I like that you distinguish between the offense and the defense because that was pronounced last year.
Yeah.
The offensive players really didn't play in the preseason. Defensive players did. Now, part of that was Vic Fangio's urging. Vic Fangio, we know, has some sway in that building, and he was introducing a new scheme that he's a proponent of playing these players. Okay, and this year, even though it's the second year with Fangio, there's new starters in the mix. I imagine Fangio is going to be pushing for it. I don't believe we're going to see the offense at all, or the first team offensive players, even like the right guard competition. I don't think we will see. If Tyler Steen's running away with that job, I don't think we'll see Tyler Steen in the preseason. But I am expecting to see the defensive players. I don't think starters should play more. I haven't seen enough of a correlation. I know in the past fans have pointed to a slow start for the Eagles. But look, the Eagles have won every home opener under Nick Sirianni. Oh, I'm sorry, not every home opener, every season opener under Nick Sirianni. Now, they've been sluggish, like they were sluggish against the Patriots, and that's when the topic of the preseason, and the Patriots, of course, 2023, that's when the topic of preseason playing time came up. It hasn't been perfect, but Nick knows how to get these guys ready for week one. And I understand the first month of the season last year was a work in progress, and even talking to Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman about this, they kind of view September now almost like an extension of the preseason.
Right.
I don't fault this, but my personal position on this is I don't like preseason games as it is, right? And I understand, and so we'll get to the merit of preseason games, but to me, it's like what you're accomplishing in a preseason game, you can accomplish in joint practices. Are you with me there, or do you think the preseason games are too beneficial for roster spots 40 to 90 that we should keep it in the NFL?
I think the reasons that we want to see starters in the preseason are what you get out of joint practice, and I think the reasons why we still value preseason are great for the guys on the bottom of the roster fighting for those roster spots. Get film out there for all 32 teams. Like, that's what's beneficial. I mean, if it were up to some organizations, they would say, like, let's get down to one preseason game to just give those guys that opportunity there. But other than that, we want to keep everything behind closed doors. But I think at the end of the day, I'm with you on most of that.
So just as a reminder to the audience, the first preseason game, Thursday, August 7th, the night after the Ospreys. Okay. I don't know which people are more excited for that week. But that's against Cincinnati. That's 7:30 p.m. Then Saturday, August 16th against the Cleveland Browns, a rare 1 p.m. game. Not a convenient time in the sense that that's the weekend of my future brother-in-law's bachelor party. I'm going to have to miss it to watch Eagles-Browns. But hey, such is life, right? And then Friday, August 22nd, always anticipated, Eagles at New York Jets.
We're
7:30 p.m., the Tim Tebow, Matt Barkley Bowl. And so those are the preseason games, and the Eagles have one joint practice this year. That's against the Cleveland Browns. It's on the Wednesday or the Thursday. I believe the Thursday before. No, I think the Wednesday before the Eagles Browns game. So we will get you all of those details. But that is what is coming up for the preseason. And yeah, I'm with you. I actually think that once the NFL expands to 18 games, and they'll soon expand to 18 games, it's going to be reduced to 2 preseason games. And once they adopt my Labor Day to President's Day, it's going to go down to 1 preseason game. But I would just, you know what, and look, it's easy for me to say this. If Don Smolenski, the Eagles president's watching, he's like, hey, we want those gate receipts for the preseason games, right? Like that's revenue for the team. I would have one preseason game, or maybe two, but have one game in a remote location, right? Put it in State College. Put the Eagles Steelers in State College. Okay.
Qatar, for instance.
not quite for the preseason. International, perhaps, but not quite the preseason. But I think that bring it almost like you see it in the NBA sometimes where they have a preseason game in like a college town or a small town. Like I would bring the NFL to fans that don't typically get to see it, right? So let's pick your, how about the Kansas City Chiefs play in Lincoln, Nebraska, okay? Or you have let's put the Cowboys versus the Texans in San Antonio or in Austin.
Okay.
And I can keep throwing out cities.
I was just gonna let you go and just see how many you can.
Yeah, but I like the idea of bringing the NFL to places where fans who live in remote areas who don't get a chance to typically see the NFL would get a chance to see a preseason game. Once again, thinking about the kids out there. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool if the Commanders play the Panthers in Norfolk or in Blacksburg. All right, how about that?
How about Mobile, Alabama? We're gonna give some love to South Alabama.
There you go. And Lead Peoples, or no, not Lead Peoples.
Lad People. It's not at Lad Peoples anymore. That would be something as well.
Yeah, but I mean, you could go Mobile. You could also go Tuscaloosa, get 100,000 people in there, or Auburn, get 100, Jordan Harris Stadium. So look at this is all part of the file on my computer. If I get interviewed to be the commissioner of the NFL, what's my elevator pitch, right? And so you got to keep this in handy in case the call comes. I have that elevator pitch ready.
Yeah, it's. I think that idea has some gas. We'll run it up the flagpole, see if it sticks.
All right, next one here. You've already picked 2 and 5.
All right, so a few weeks ago, we had the 50th anniversary, Zach, of Jaws, the release of the movie Jaws. Are you an ocean guy? Do you have any aversions to swimming in the ocean?
I don't have an aversion. I don't have aversions to swimming in the ocean. It's great seeing your son in the background. Hello.
Francis is here. Francis is over. He wants me to turn on the iPad for him, which we'll do during the ad break.
So yeah, no, I don't mind. I don't mind. And no, look, I mean, who doesn't like the ocean? So I don't love salt water, but I'm happy with the ocean. Yeah.
All right. Well, the reason I say that is with Jaws, we're gonna go Ron Jaworski, number 7.
Okay, I like that. You associate. Oh, all right.
You follow the string here.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So this kind of ties into the public practices, okay? And that is, are you in favor of the practice at the team facility or the practice at the in the remote location? And if you want to turn on the iPad, I have a little data here that I can read to the audience, okay?
No, let's see it.
Okay, so 6 clubs this year are spending the entirety of camp away from the facility. This is from the NFL. Okay, so Buffalo Bills, they're practicing at St. John Fisher University in Rochester, New York. The Dallas Cowboys, they are practicing at the luxurious Staybridge Suites in Oxnard, California. The Indianapolis Colts, they are at Grand Park in Westfield, Indiana. Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid likes to go to a remote location.
Right.
Missouri Western State University in St. Joseph's, Missouri. The Los Angeles Rams, they are at beautiful Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are Rolling Rock at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And then if you take out 2020, when it was the COVID year and like no one went away, 26 clubs, that's 81%, are staying home for training camp. It's the most since 2000. So this is a trend. This is a trend that started with the Eagles. The Eagles started in 2013. And I'm curious your opinion. And by the way, there might be someone else who has an opinion on this. Is there anyone else out there who has strong opinions on every topics? Look who it is! Welcome back.
You guys are still doing the show?
Good to see you.
This thing still exists?
It's back.
Yeah, we've been doing yeoman's work here the past 3 weeks, but now the fearless leader is back. Good to see you.
Yeah, what's going on? I'm sorry, first time back. I forgot what time we start.
That is Bo Wulf for all the audio listeners, by the way. We have Bo Wulf back in the building. Bo, we missed you. We've seen you every day, just about, with the Pico ad, which I don't know.
Too bad we didn't get to see the outtake.
Well, we've heard about it. If you've been reading the chat, they love the Pico ad.
Francis.
And now that you've referenced him, he's definitely.
We love Pico.
Exit stage left.
What's not to love?
Yeah.
There has definitely been a cult following with that ad, and I think for the Ospreys, maybe for the live audience, maybe we'll play the outtake for them.
Oh, I like that. I have one note on the show so far.
Yes.
Okay.
Having listened a little bit
Today or like the past 3 weeks?
Well, both.
Oh, okay.
Because I have no notes on the past 3 weeks.
Good.
Your poor brother-in-law.
I was going to bring it up, but I just let it go. I know.
You do not have to go to that preseason game.
Exactly right.
You are making your how you feel about that young man who's about to marry into the family and become the next Berman brother. You are really knocking him down a peg. I mean, you're missing out on the athletic green shots that you guys are going to be taking at that bachelor party. What's going on?
I disagree. Who you are some of the time is who you are all the time. So look, I would miss the preseason game for the wedding, but I don't think the bachelor party reaches the threshold of like missing a game. I think that
it's a preseason game.
Yeah, but what kind
if it was a road game at most places, you wouldn't even travel for work.
I think that if I didn't show up to that game, that would be like an abdiction of my responsibilities. So
no, it wouldn't.
No, it would not.
Maybe it's an abdication of your responsibilities as a member of the Berman family.
We can save that for another day. Yeah.
So those are my notes on the last month of shows.
Okay. Okay. Welcome back. Good to
be back.
Are we gonna stick to form here?
What's that?
Are we going to stick to the form of the show, or are we going to throw out the device? And
well, first of all, it's up to Fran whether he wants to stay or not.
Yeah, I could hang out for another 20 minutes. Why not?
Okay.
Plus overtime.
Okay. So
we got a new presenting sponsor while I'm gone. Shout out to Do That.
Do That Dental. Yes, Do That Dental, the official dental practice of the Philadelphia Eagles.
There you go.
And they were a part of AJ Brown's football camp on Friday. Great job by Chris Frezza, our outstanding social media director here at PHLY, who was over there at the camp and got some video that you can see now on our YouTube channel.
Frez, making it happen.
So should we pick up? So
yeah,
the question was here. Yeah. So 26 clubs are opting to stay home this year, as opposed to going to training camp elsewhere. Fran and Bo, do you have any strong feelings on the home base or packing up and going to a college campus and getting that team bonding?
I get the allure of going on the road, but I think that in today's day and age, I think it makes more sense just to stay home. You pay all this money for these facilities and for these amenities. I think that it makes sense to keep everybody where you can get the most productive, efficient kind of performance from these guys that you're paying all this money to.
Yeah, I think it's a similar evolution to why aren't they practicing twice a day in pads anymore? Right. Like it's all in service of keeping these guys healthy. You have more control when you're at your home base. Like, if you picked up the whole organization and went to Lehigh, you might not have the same, hardware of player monitoring and stuff like that. All of that just in service of making the reason to go away is to forge the camaraderie. Right. And if you got a guy like Nick Sirianni, who that's all he cares about anyway, you think you're fine. Just,
Yeah.
Stay at home.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of an anachronistic thing to want to go away, probably.
Yeah, I think the pluses of being home, you know, they're not in their beds. They're in a local hotel, but you're not in dorm rooms. There's air conditioning in the hotel.
As if you don't know which hotel they're in.
Yes, but I'm in a local hotel. I think I'm not trying to dox them here. And so you know, they get to be in their cafeteria. They have their training facility, their weight room. They ostensibly have an indoor facility. I mean, it's not great, but it's better than what they have at Lehigh on days when it rains. So I think that it just makes sense for performance reasons to do it. I think the bonding part of it's overrated. I think actually what gets hit hardest is the fans, right? Is that,
Absolutely.
you know, Lehigh is such a cool experience for the fans, and that's just not possible
Yeah, they're so
logistically
close.
at the
And
team facility.
I heard you guys talking about it a little bit before, but I mean, it sucks. It sucks for the fans that there is one open practice. Like, that's brutal. That's not cool.
Yeah. So that is Bo's actually take on not just question number 7, but also question number 5. And we will knock out the other 4 questions after these messages. Let me tell everybody here about our good friends at Bet365, okay? Because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. They have 90 million users worldwide. They live stream 788,000 events each year. They pioneered live in-game betting. We're past the All-Star break now. There's always some good baseball games to bet on. There's, I think, that Guardians Orioles game is at 6:40 tonight if you want to get on the action there. And if you're a new customer, you get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get that $150 in bonus bets. Again, win or lose. And with the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a win. You're a winner if your team goes 5 runs ahead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. It can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And when you're talking about betting, I'd be willing to bet that you cannot name every single subscription that you have, every single company that you're shelling out money to every month, every year, because a lot of that stuff is out of sight, out of mind. That's where Rocket Money comes in handy, because again, sometimes that spending, it's you don't even think about it. The daily coffee habit, all the streaming subscriptions, all the different ways that we just kind of give our money away for these daily amenities. Well, they add up fast without you even noticing. Rocket Money helps you spot those patterns so that you can do something about them and keep more money in your pocket. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel those unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You can get those alerts if the bills increase in price, if there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over your budget. Rocket Money's got over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. So cancel those unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Download the Rocket Money app and enter our show name, PHLY Eagles Podcast, in the survey so that they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Download the Rocket Money app today and tell them that you heard about them from our show. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
Welcome back to the PHLY Eagles Show. And just a reminder to everybody that on August 6th, we will be having the Ospreys, okay?
What?
So now that we see Bo here, it's important to bring that up. The Ospreys on August 6th.
I got a lot of work to do. I didn't know that.
So make sure You can find all the information on allphly.com.
Where's it going to be?
It is at the Hard Rock Cafe in Philadelphia, in Center City, Philadelphia.
I thought that place was rubble.
No, if you want to know all about the Hard Rock Cafe, make sure you tune into about 80% of the NFC Championship game show for all the details on the Hard Rock Cafe. We have remaining questions 1, 3, 4, and 6.
Let's go with Kevin Cobb.
Kevin Cobb, 4.
Number 4.
Okay. How soon in the camp would the Eagles need to go before they decide to sign a safety to compete to start?
I actually don't think they will. I think that's a position that gets left alone.
But the conceit of the question is if they really didn't like what they've seen so far.
Yeah.
If they didn't like it. Okay, so it's not
how
Sure.
far
How
would
long
it have
would
to
you
go?
wait?
I think it would
Okay.
be after the first preseason game.
After the first preseason game.
Yeah.
And
okay, good. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Justin Simmons is obviously lingering out there.
Yep.
And so that's, I think, the name that will be connected to it. And I think there's a lot of anticipation from fans to see how Drew Makuba looks, to see how Sidney Brown looks next to Reed Blankenship. So the conceit of the question is, like, do the Eagles give this 2 weeks? Do they give it through that first preseason game? Is there a time when Howie Roseman says we're going to give them until now or until this point, and then we'll add a veteran to try to compete for the starting job?
And I do think that this is an interesting one, and it is one where they may need a safety measure, no pun intended, because I think the downsides of Sidney Brown and Drew Makuba, both of them, is that if they're not at their best, what you are losing is safety, right? Like Sidney Brown and Drew Makuba, where they could be exposed is like tackling on the back end, right? And giving up touchdowns instead of, if they were in the box or something like that, right? And so they kind of do need a safety plan if those guys don't work. And I don't know that anybody below them on the roster, your Tristan McCollums or Andre Sam is offering that either.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the big thing, that you're hoping to see is like the mental process. How are those guys picking things up? And I think that's why I do think the timeline that you laid out, Bo, is fair, where it's like, all right, by the time you get through the first preseason game, we're talking 2.5 weeks of practice by that point. They should have an understanding of what those guys are bringing to the table from a mental standpoint and whether or not it's just going to be too big for either Sidney Brown or Drew Makuba going into 2025.
Yeah, I think that actually the public practice, so that's actually after the first preseason game, right on Bo's timeline there. So the preseason game is August 7th. The public practice is August 10th. So that gives them kind of 2 days there to regroup, to figure this out, and then to decide how they want to proceed. If you remember, the public practice was when the Eagles unveiled Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham to the excited crowd at Lincoln Financial Field. So
which, of course, was kind of an echoing of history of when they signed Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph the year prior. You spread your bets at the veterans at the position, and really it'll only work out for the best.
Yeah, it's what makes this organization so savvy, is that they can sign 2 guys at once. All right, next one on the list here. You can go with 1, you can go with 3, or you can go with 6.
Let's go with 3 with Allen Iverson.
3, okay. Outside of health related, so either injury or staying healthy, what's the best case scenario for Eagles training camp, and what's the worst case scenario for Eagles training camp?
The best case scenario for Eagles training camp is nobody suffers a season-ending injury.
Outside of injuries, what's the best case scenario?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, is it the offense that, because Fran and I did a VOD as a video on demand.
Yeah, only those of you in the know might know that it's VOD.
Yeah, that you find, by the way,
real inside baseball.
if you're going to PHLY Sports on YouTube, you go to the video section to find our VODs. The live section is the live shows. The video section includes the VODs. So make sure you're finding those. We have some really good VODs in there for all to see. But Fran and I did like topics we're looking for, 3 things each that we're excited to see. And one of the things Fran mentioned was the offense being in sync, right? And so is the best case scenario that like this offense looks lights out, or you don't see a correlation from what happens on July 26th and what happens on September 4th?
In terms of like team quality, I don't. Because listen, if the offense looks great, that means the defense isn't looking so good, or vice versa. Training camp to me is about the individuals and not the team. And so best case scenario is Jahad Campbell returns on schedule or ahead of schedule and looks the part. Drew Makuba doesn't look lost at safety. Jahan Dotson pops, and it looks like maybe you have a real third option in the passing game. Tyler Steen looks like he is ready to take over as a solid starter at right guard. One of the other edge rushers, Azeez Ojulari or somebody else, pops and looks like you've got a good top 3 there. To me, Keely Ringo holds up on the outside and looks ready to hold down corner. To me, training camp is about the individuals, not about Jalen Hurts' passing line.
Yeah, so I think the best case scenario for the Eagles, from my perspective, is that this pass rush looks menacing, right? Because the offensive line is strong, right? And they even had they had the joint practice against the Browns. The Browns have some talent on that offensive line. Not
anymore.
True. Yeah, I mean, well, they don't have Michael Dunn anymore, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for putting that together.
Okay.
It's been a few weeks, Bo. You got to give him time to get back up to speed.
I was thinking of the rest of it. I was like, well,
he's been playing at a different speed.
I mean, they I was like, they still have Wyatt Teller. They still have Joel Patano, Jack Conklin in there. Yeah. So
how about JC Treader? What do you guys think of him?
What do you think of him, Bo?
I mean, what a wild thing. I feel like I feel bad for the NFLPA, for all the players in the NFL. Like, they've just been getting bamboozled, and now they're probably gonna have to hire some slappy, and they're gonna get absolutely taken to the cleaners in the next negotiation. It's a terrible situation.
Fran?
The chat has been eagerly anticipating your take on this whole situation, Bo.
Oh, really?
That was one of the first things that people were saying, even like last week, was like, I can't wait for Bo to come back to talk about this NFLPA situation. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, man, because obviously the more than any other sports league, like the owners are definitely in control from that. And so to have this lack of leadership at the top on the player side, it makes it very difficult for them looking forward.
Yeah,
I do have to thank Vince and PHLY for covering my tab at Delilah's this afternoon before I came on the show.
Answered Shay's question in the chat.
As City Sandwich said, Pablo Torre on a generational heater. Pablo has been awesome. So credit to Pablo Torre, who is doing outstanding journalism.
And I think importantly, credit to Pablo Torre and not Mike Florio.
Sure. And look,
it's the whole conceit is they're teaming up on these things, and it's just Pablo getting everything.
Yeah. But also, Don Van Natta and Kalen Kaler have done some good work on this.
Yeah, Kalen just right between the eyes on Lloyd.
Yeah. Jonathan Jones last night getting JC Treader on the record. So, some real good journalism being taken place here. Awesome to see that as well. So I think that the best case scenario is the pass rush looking good, and because that's really the big question I have with this team is how are these edge rushers and how's the pass rush, and then I think
the flip side to that, Zach, is the thing that we have talked about for a long time, that if the pass rush doesn't look great in training camp, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be good, because those guys are going up against Lane Johnson.
Sure.
And Jordan Mailata. We always talk about 2022. Hassan Reddick didn't look that great that summer because he was lining up against Lane Johnson every day, and then he went on 20 sacks. So,
but that's why it's even more pronounced is that if J.Alex Hunt's getting home, if Nolan Smith's getting home, if Azeez Ojulari is getting home, I feel good about what the Eagles have around the edge, and I think the worst case scenario, like outside of the injury component, is them getting through the preseason and not knowing who their starting right guard is going to be. Because I think that's an important spot. You need, like, you don't need top of the league play there, but you need to know that it's not an Achilles heel of this team. And so if Jeff Stoutland doesn't know after that third preseason game who that's going to be, I think that's problematic.
To me, like the big thing and where my mind first went once I got the conceit of the question, ZB, was like, okay, it's the unknowns. If you feel good about the majority of the unknowns going in, so Bo outlined a bunch of them. Like, if you feel good coming out of camp about Jalix Hunt, Keely Ringo, Tyler Steen, Drew Makuba, and you're like, all right, if 3 of those 4 you feel good about, that's best case scenario, because so many of these other players are known quantities. You know what to expect. And if you can say that injuries aside, all these guys are healthy and we know what that talent level is going to be, then the rest of this stuff, if you're able to get good answers there, that would be best case scenario.
So 2 questions left here. You have number 1 and you have number 6.
Let's go with number 1. Cam Johnston. Let's go Cam Johnston.
I like that, Cam. Cam Johnston, number 1. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of practice, training camp practice observations. We're going to have daily shows. There's going to be no shortage around Philadelphia of training camp coverage. Okay. As a veteran of not just training camp, but probably the best football analyst in this market,
Yes.
Fran, and Benbo. Sorry, the questions were written before I knew Bo was going to come on. What matters and what does not matter in a training camp practice? I think this is educational for both me and for the audience. Like, you and I, Fran, spoke 2 weeks ago on the quarterback show about the merit of quarterback stats and things of that nature. But like, what matters and what does not matter at a training camp practice?
I think it's important to not necessarily get hung up on one individual rep, but to me, like, you want to be able to see guys pop. Right? Like, you want to be able to see the guys that you have questions about, especially the young players, come in and show like, hey, you know what? Like, these guys belong. Like, it doesn't look completely lost. That they were able to show that they weren't swimming. Like Anaya Smith was a big question last year. We're coming out where it's like, oh, like, I don't know. We haven't seen like one iota of the potential where this guy can come in and make an impact right away. So obviously that's an extreme example, but to me, like, you're trying to find, guys that can stack day on day, or you have, all right, multiple flashes every single day. Like, you're at practice for a couple of days, or if Peter King or insert national analyst comes in for a couple of days and you're like, all right, yeah, like, feel good about Jalen Carter. You'd like to be able to see those guys just continue to have those flash moments day after day. I think that's probably the big thing. I agree with what Bo said earlier, that training camp is about like the individuals, and so to me, like, being able to see those guys have those individual moments, that's always important.
How about you, Bo?
I think that what matters most is not who looks great, and more who doesn't look like they belong. It's more clearing the low bar. So that's when we're talking about, like, roster bubble guys, right? When it comes to the starters, I mean, it's silly to keep repeating, but you got to stay healthy. That's the most important. It's the first 99 most important things about training camp is how do you come out health wise. Like, what doesn't matter to me is what plays they're running, or like, are they blitzing, are they hitting, stuff like that, because the scheme stuff it's not going to be shown a ton during training camp. I like, there will be a bunch of things written the first week of camp about what Kevin Patullo's offense looks like. I don't think Kevin Patullo's offense is going to look like it looks like the first week of training camp, even though they're doing some baseline install stuff. Like, I don't think that stuff matters a ton. I don't think that Jalen Hurts' interception totals matter. I don't think that it's hard to judge linebackers in these settings. It's hard to judge safeties as well. But like, what matters is how do the guys on the outside look. I will, I love my O-line, D-line one-on-ones. But again, I go back to the larger point is that I believe that training camp is more about the individuals than the team itself.
To find out the answer to the last question and what I think matters and what doesn't matter, you're going to have to stick around for
Overtime!
Yeah, so I look at it. I think consistency and improvement are two things that really matter to me, and it's similar to what you said. Is I think that the mistake that can be made is when it's this push pull because you're there every day to report, right? So you're not serving your audience if you're not like explaining what you see that day, but you also have to understand that it's within the framework of a month here, and that if you view one day as representative of what's happening, then that's not representative. And so I think consistency, like how many good days are you putting together, and improvement matters. Like, are you getting, can you see from a young player them get from point A to point B during camp? Sometimes the player hits a wall, sometimes there's regression. But I think what doesn't matter is the outstanding performance more so than like the regular performance, what you're seeing on a day in, day out basis. And I think that really resonates with the coaching in the front office as well. So the final question here, and this is kind of odd with Bo here, is number 6. So you might not want to answer this question, but number 6, Fran Duffy, predict Bo's training camp crush.
Oh no. Yeah, see, this is bad because now that Bo's on the show,
yeah,
if I could lay out like 7 names and now he can't take credit for any of them, and he is less likely to name that player.
No.
Yeah, he is right now. He understands what this is right now. If I lay out 10 players, all of a sudden now he knows that if he names one of them the camp crush, I can always just say, oh well, he was my guy back in.
All right, here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'm gonna take my earbuds out. I promise you, I will not listen to this segment, and just give me a visual clue when it's time for me to come back again.
Okay.
All right, give me 1 sec here, Zach. I don't know if do you have a list of the history of the guy? Maybe we bring Bo on to go take us through the history of the camp crush while I make my call here.
Well, one year he had about 4 camp crushes,
right?
So
yes,
that kind of made it difficult. But there's been Reed Blankenship was once a camp crush.
Yep.
We had DeAndre Carter was a camp crush one year. There was Elijah Riley was a camp crush one year. I think there was a Tanner McKee, Moro Ojimo combination perhaps with the camp crush. So yeah, right. Bo can of course Coyote Awashika was a camp crush. So
still in the league, Coyote Awashika.
Still in the league, which shows how astute Bo is at watching practice.
All right, so I'm going to do it this way. Can you still hear me clear so that Bo can't hear me?
I can.
He can't read my lips. So we don't want any lip reading.
Well, you were worried that Bo's been reading your lips.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so I've got a few options. Number 1, Andre Sam. I feel like there's been a couple little sprinkles here and there where he's got a little glimmer in his eye. Andre Sam. All right, so I feel like the seeds are planted there. Obviously, Lou Nichols is one. I am going to say Shunderick Powell. He's got the juice. So I could see a situation where it's like 2 weeks in, it's 2 weeks in, and he's like, I love Lou Nichols, but Shunderick Powell, he's got some juice, and this is an environment where he could really lay the juice on. So I'm going to say Shunderick Powell. We're going to say Andre Sam. We are going to say Gabe Hall, just because he wants an excuse to be able to say Gabe Hall's name as often as possible.
Gabe Hall.
Gabe Hall.
Okay.
And then we are going to last wrap it up with Holland Pierce, because we know there's going to be an offensive lineman in there.
Sure. All right, Bo, come on back in, Bo. Come on back in.
I'm back.
Welcome back to Bo Wulf, the host of the PHLY Eagles Show. So Fran's predictions were on the record. Here we have a question for you. Can you give us the lineage of the camp crush?
DeAndre Carter.
Okay, that's right. That was the first one. Yep.
Well, let me see if I can. This may not be in order. So you got DeAndre Carter, Elijah Riley. Well, let me go position by position. Tanner McKee has been one. I don't believe there's ever been a running back. I don't believe there's ever been a wide receiver. I don't believe there's ever been a tight end.
Lou Nichols just getting completely
I believe
brushed to the wayside here.
Sua Opeta was the second. Coyote Awashika was in there at some point.
Yep.
Christian Ellis, obviously.
Of course.
Reed Blankenship, of course.
Yep.
You're welcome. Tanner McKee. I might be missing somebody. All of them overperformed, as we all know. EJ Jenkins, of course.
Okay. So that's the Camp Crush, and that gives everyone something to tune in for every day throughout the next month here on the PHLY Eagles Show. But we've missed you the past 3+ weeks. I know
I'd like to say that the feeling is mutual, but
I know you've had more important business to tend to. Any show notes that you want to get in? And there are a few lingering questions I have.
No, I already gave you my show notes.
Okay, just from today, nothing from the past 3 weeks. Okay.
No,
I fully believe that he did not watch or listen to one show from the last 3 weeks, Zach.
Yeah.
You guys still did the show?
Every day.
Bo, I have a question. Have
Yeah.
you ever heard of the saying, there's always a better mousetrap?
I have heard of that.
Wow. See, I'd never heard of that one. There goes,
Yeah.
Zach.
Well, but it's more like people are always trying to invent a better mousetrap, but there isn't one.
Got it.
That's it. People keep trying to iterate on something that cannot be improved.
I like to be optimistic and think there's always a better mousetrap out there, right?
So you use it differently.
Yeah, we were talking.
You use it in the opposite sense.
Yeah, I was talking about Andrew's great work in creating a mousetrap in our office, and I said there's always a better mousetrap. Like there's always something we can do to improve the mousetrap, to find.
So that is the literal opposite meaning of the general usage of that phrase.
It's the way that I use it.
You're going Ron Jaworski on me here. You're going when Jaws used to say, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, got to throw caution to the wind and punt the ball away here.
No, I'm using it the way that I think that life is better with optimism as opposed to pessimism. So if I view it as like there's no way to do this better, that to me is a depressing way to go through life. It's like the idea that you can always
or it's optimistic and spend your time doing something that you could make a tangible improvement as opposed to wasting your time on something that can't be improved.
I don't like to think something can't be improved. I think there's always a way. There's always, there's always a way to look at something and say, I can do this better. There's more I can achieve here. Yeah. So, there's always a better mousetrap. There's always a better mousetrap from my perspective.
Yeah, that tracks.
Okay. Bo Waymo in Philadelphia. Any reaction to that?
Gonna last very long.
No. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones we've done. Peckness migrate, raccoons, skunks, and possums.
For dinner, or
just overall presence in your daily life.
Okay, I will go. I'm gonna nest the raccoon, because you occasionally get they got those opposable thumbs, kind of. You get some funny images of the raccoons.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I gotta migrate the skunk.
Gotta migrate the skunk.
Yeah.
Downside is horrendous.
Pecking a possum sounds tough.
I want to circle back to the Waymo. Waymo, they raised $5.6 billion in their Series C.
Oh, and of course, that's the only thing that matters is how much money you raise.
They're finding better mousetraps every single day.
Okay,
so
we can move on. How was the trip to Maine, Zach?
I didn't tell the audience I was going to Maine, but yeah, Maine was awesome.
You already went.
You already went.
Yeah.
Did you drive or fly?
We flew to Maine. We flew into Portland and out of Bangor.
No heart.
And it was just for the efficiency of time that we had to get to to certain places at certain
Bangor.
times.
I haven't even met it yet.
And when I was in Bangor, I was pointing out to Reed, this is where Cooper Flag's from. We went to a bagel shop in downtown Bangor yesterday morning, and Reed asked, "Do you think Cooper Flag had breakfast here one time?" And I said, "Maybe so, right?" I had good lobster roll, but mostly I just had awesome time with the family. Played 2 days of mini golf.
How'd you do?
Well, I need to say that I mini golfed with integrity, and it's more than my daughter could say. So Sloan and I had a conversation about doing the right thing all the time, and even that if you have a 5, you can't just say it's a 4 or a 3, right? Because honesty, like there's there's never a time to compromise your integrity, and so we had a long conversation about that. So it was so much fun. It was a memory with the kids both
Not for
days.
Sloan. Playing mini golf, she's getting lectured.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I hope that there's a time in Sloan's life, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, where she'll realize that choosing the harder right is better than the easier wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that like if you do the right thing, so I certainly hope that's the case. But Sloan was she was I love my daughter more than anything. She hit it through the windmill, and then hits the hits the wall. It's rolling. She doesn't let it stop, and I say you have to let it stop, Sloan. And then she did the I had some intense mini golf games with my kids, but honestly, it was an awesome time in Maine. My kids were so much fun. We had such good conversations and lifelong memories. How about your time in Maine, Bo?
It was nice. It was lovely. A lot of good cousin time for the kids. Had a good time.
Very nice.
Was the phrase "keep the main thing" uttered at all the last few days, Zach?
No, I wish. Yeah, it wasn't. Unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that was not. But Reed was fascinated to know that Maine is in New England. So he said there was no football team in Maine. I said the Patriots, and so we were going through New England, and then we passed the Portland Sea Dog Stadium, and we were going through different players in Sea Dogs history. So yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Lars
Anderson.
Bo, we're 12 minutes into overtime here, so we can save this for another time. But on the list of questions I wanted to ask you from the past 3 weeks is we had great series of shows last week, the What If episodes. What's your favorite What If? That I don't know if you saw the show, but from relatively recent Eagles history, what's the What If that jumps out to you?
We've talked about it before, but to me it is the 2022 offseason. What if the Eagles had gotten what their plan A was, which was trading for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, deposing Jalen Hurts, and then signing Allen Robinson, because all indications are that would have been an abject disaster. And instead, they traded for A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts took the leap. And, we're living in a world where they've won their second Super Bowl. And if they had done especially if it was Deshaun Watson, if they had done that with Allen Robinson, I think we would have an entirely new regime here with the Eagles front office. So that's the one to me that hangs as that's what they were hoping to do.
Yeah.
It's not a like the Justin Jefferson over Jalen Reagor one is a fun one, but they had their choice. They made their choice. That's one where this is what they wanted to do and they weren't able to. And all credit to Howie Roseman for pivoting beautifully. But that's the one where I'm like that would have been wild.
Yeah, that's an interesting. We didn't talk about the Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson component of it, but yeah, those decisions were made for them, and it's the fascinating part of that too is how much of success is environmental compared to just like the player itself. It's a topic we can wait for next summer to discuss. But that was
And then, of course, as somebody points out in the comment, what if they had not released Christian Ellis?
Well, we wouldn't have had.
They're probably coming off back-to-back Super Bowl championships.
Yeah. Maybe. We would have had 13 minutes of a show back in November of 2023.
Was it only 13 minutes?
Maybe it was 18.
37 seconds.
Yeah.
You seem to know that very specifically.
I am envious of Bo. I went on. I went to the Bahamas for 4 days or 3 days back in June, and I was in the water slide line listening to the shows because I couldn't get away from the shows. I can't imagine like not listening to the show. It's such a part of my being.
You think that'll continue forever, Zach?
Let's get to the super chat here from Idiot Sandwich. Mina Kynes times PHLY news is amazing. Got even better. I agree. As Fred and I said earlier, I know it's subjective, but I think Mina is one of the elite voices on the NFL, and thrilled that she's going to be on these airwaves twice a month, Wednesdays, right? Every other Wednesday.
It depends on it. So there are some months where you get 3 Wednesdays in a month.
True.
Bi-weekly.
Okay. Bi-weekly. Okay, yeah. Bi-weekly. Just like ESPN the magazine used to be.
That's
used to
right.
look forward to that. Yep. So yeah, Mina's awesome and
Can't
great
wait.
addition to the show. Yep. And the first one will be this Wednesday. We'll have a lot to discuss with
Where do you
training
think
camp.
she'll fall on raccoon, skunk, possum?
I don't know if that'd be the best use of Mina's of the company resources to get Mina's opinion on that, but
Like mine can disagree on that.
who am I to say what the best use of company resources are? So
Good point.
yeah. So but yeah, I'm excited for Mina. Anything else? We missed you, Bo, but as Fran said, we had you every day come in from Maine or wherever you were to do the Pico show or to do the Pico ad.
Yeah, and boy, are my arms tired.
There you go. Fran, we really appreciate you stepping in today on short notice. Bo, it's awesome to have you back. Ethan, as always, doing a terrific job helping out here. What's that? Yeah. Ethan, a great addition to our staff. Bo and I will be back tomorrow for the final show before training camp begins. We will be drafting training camp play. Our
The
most
20
favorite
players we're most excited to watch.
Exactly. So we'll be hitting on 40 players in that show. Make sure you're watching.
I was thinking 10 and 10.
Oh, okay. So then 10 and 10. We'll be talking about 20 players, 10 and 10. Either way, it's going to be a fun show. 2:00 tomorrow. I've been ending these shows by saying if Bo were here, he would say, as always, we love
Ospreys,
you.
baby.
But Bo is here. But I will say we'll do better tomorrow. Thank you for Fran and Bo and Ethan. I'm Zach. Thank you for watching.
We all silly like the mayor.